I'm very excited to chat with you today because I'm obsessed with your new LP, Supreme. It is such a vibe that I've needed in the dead of winter, to be perfectly honest with you. But before we get into all of that, Vassy, I'd love to take it back to the very beginning with you and hear your story and how you got into making music.
Yeah, absolutely. I started in Australia. I was actually kicked out of school choir. I was told I don't have what it takes. So that was my first the very beginning chapter of my music career. I then, obviously wasn't doing the music choir. And then years later when I finished, I got a degree in architecture. Like my father didn't really want me to do music, so I promised him, and unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was really young, but I promised him that I'd get my degree and all this stuff. So I did. And then after I got my degree in architecture, I still, just have this like yearning passion for music. So that's really when I started my career. And I got discovered singing at jazz clubs. And then from there, I was like unearthed. So, like, my very first song that I'd written got like Song of the Year as part of this big national radio competition thing, and I won it. And so then my song was on radio across the country in Australia, and then Universal signed me. And so I did my very first album in Australia, and that's really when it started there. Of course, then I came to America and everything. But yeah.
That is such an interesting story, and joke is on who was ever running that choir because that is crazy. Look at you now. Moving on to your background a bit. As you mentioned, you're from Australia. Your parents are Greek immigrants, and now you're in LA. How would you say your background has kind of shaped your sound?
I think my parents definitely influenced me in terms of hard work and ethics, like that way. My father was such a hardworking man, and my parents left a poor place to come to a country to give us opportunities, and they earned it and worked hard for it. So I think there was a bit of the I have to do my father proud type of thing. And I know I got his blessings to do music, but I promised him that if I was going to do music, I would, turn it into a very profitable business or just do something successful with it. So I could never just like be a loser. Like, it had to be a winning situation,
Yeah.
even if my dad's not around, but I just know he's up there, and, my mom. But yeah, I think that's why. I mean, I grew up listening to a lot of Greek music. I discovered music later in my late teens, like reggae and jazz and all this stuff. But it was definitely not at home. I mean, at home, my mom always had the Greek stuff on, like, oh, doing the washing the dishes, the kitchen stuff, like cooking, and always having loud Greek music. So yeah, I just think that I mean, musically it's not in my music, obviously, but I just think it's more about the foundation and the fundamentals, so,
100.
which is a big part of succeeding in the business. As you know, it's not just about having talent and having this, having that. You got to have so many other things, and it's like a combination of all of that that creates, a path to success.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of that, you do have all the things. You're not just a singer, but you write songs, you produce, the list goes on and on. How would you say wearing all of those hats kind of influence your creative process?
I think sometimes wearing a lot of the hats does interfere with the creative process. It takes a lot of energy away from it. But unfortunately, it's a big part of it. And I think even when you want to step back from it, you can't always as an artist. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I think it's painted and talked about, oh, just focus on the creative. But every successful artist that's out there, they're never just focused on the creative. Like, they're looking at everything. And that's what one thing artists need to remember. Like, it's never just going to be you're going to sit back and let this person do that. This No, you're going to be really involved because it's you, it's your career, it's your brand. So you got to really be involved. So it's good and bad. Like, it's good because you learn a lot of things. You become business savvy. You understand stuff. So this way you don't get exploited. But sometimes it's just like, oh my god, like, you just want to be an artist. So I think it's a tough juggle, but kind of inevitable. You have to, yeah.
Right. It's kind of a catch-22. Like, you want to know all the things, but then you also want that creativity part to still be a part of it. That's why you really started. So I get that. That's interesting. It's all a balance in this life. This year happens to be the 10th anniversary of your massive hit that you had with David Guetta and Showtek. It's called Bad. And I was hoping maybe you could share the story about how that collaboration came together.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm so proud of this baby because, I wrote this song back then and about a couple months before like that happened because it happened quickly. It was a song that I had written and I was in the studio working on it. And one of the A&Rs from Atlantic at the time came to that studio to listen to something else that the producers were working on for Flowrider. But because he walked in on their session with my song, I wasn't there, but accidentally heard my song. He fell in love with it. It was all an accident. And so he was like, wait, what's that? And they're like, oh, we're working with this artist. She just had their first #1 on the Billboard dance charts. And, this is where we're just working on material for her project. And that's how that happened. And so then it got into the hands of, David Guetta. And then I get a phone call and David Guetta wanted to meet me. And I met him. And then when he played me the version he had, which obviously he had worked on it, he had a different, so my voice was always the same. No one ever interfered with it. That's actually something we did in the studio where we, pitched my voice and stuff. But he did this version with a production where it was so cool. I was really like top 40, like think like Kelly Rowland when Love Takes Over type of thing. And I remember they had Will.i.am on it from the Black Eyed Peas in the verses, and I was spewing. I mean, I was trying to keep my cool, and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, it really sounds cool." And I remember walking out and I go, "Fucking hell, I'm gonna be rich, bitch!" Like
Yeah.
I thought, "Oh my fucking god, a record with Will.i.am and David Guetta and top 40." And so then about a month or so later, where I'm emailing back and forth with him. And then he's like, okay, I'm so excited. We're going to put the song out. Da, 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 da. And then he sends me like the final master. I was like, I'm so excited. I want to hear it. And he sends it to me, no heads up. He was, oh, by the way, we changed direction a little bit. And he sends it to me and I'm like, what the fuck? What? Where's Will.i.am? And so it went like EDM, but I was still the same, right? Like everything about me was the way it was. So then I was like, oh, far out. What's going to happen now? And then it just exploded. And I mean, I just got a plaque for it the other day. I've received, several plaques. So the song went 17 times platinum around the world. I mean, #1 in over 40 countries. It's had over 2 billion streams. And actually, I'm flying to Australia in April for a festival, but I'm being awarded another plaque for it because it's officially joined like the 2 billion stream milestone club thing. 2 million milestone stream. Oh my God, I can't even say it. Anyways, it's a
so
monster of
exciting.
yeah, and still to this day, it's such a monster of a record. And I remember last year when I got the Icon Award at the EDMA Awards, I was so honored and to find out I'm the first woman to get it. And I remember when I got it, and I just had so many DJs, backstage, and even at the time with Bad was just telling me, man, that song's still in my set. Like, it's just one of those records, and you see it even with royalties. Like, it just still continues to just get nonstop traction. It's one of those songs.
Yes.
And who would have known? Who would have known when I wrote it? I was just like, who would have known?
And
Yeah.
what a roller coaster. At one point, you thought Will.i.am was going to be on it, but it didn't even matter. It worked out.
I know. And I remember at one point they called me and they said, how do you feel if Nicki Minaj cut this? And I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'm not attached. I don't have to be on it.
Huh?
And I was down for Nicki Minaj. So like Nicki Minaj, hell yeah. And I think she tried cutting it, but they couldn't get the sound the way that everyone, my voice was very specific the way I laid it. And so anyways, everything turns out for a reason.
Absolutely.
And then exactly a year later, I have a #1 record with Tiesto with Secrets, like exactly a year later. And I remember because it had that sound too, and that was the beginning of like a big EDM movement. We created a staple like signature sound. And I think then from there, like it was just everyone was doing it, everyone was hitting me up as well. Like I need a Secrets. And I just remember going, whoa, like I feel so overwhelmed right now. And yeah.
That
So
was
anyways,
an era of music too, back in 2014. What a time to be alive. And you certainly did set up a lot of that, VASSY. So that's so cool. Something to be proud of for sure. And as you mentioned, your track with Tiesto as well as David Guetta, you've collaborated with some incredible artists. Is there anyone else on kind of your dream list of collaborations that you haven't worked with yet that you'd love to?
Yes. I mean, in terms of DJs, I really want to record with Calvin Harris.
Yes.
Yeah, I just have to. Like, he's my DJ guy. Like, I have to have a record with him. But then in terms of producers, there's so many people. Like, I'd love to work with Pharrell Williams. You know, I'd love to work with Bruno Mars. I'd love to work with Pink. I would have loved to work with Tina, Turner, but she passed away. But like, but I mean, these are very, and people like Bono from U2, like just different type of things, But in terms of the dance genre, like definitely would love to work with Calvin Harris. And in terms of producers, I love like Lewis Thompson, and that I'm really into the whole UK vibe. So yeah.
Yes. Well, all of those that you named, I could totally see it. Even Bono, I think that would be so sick. So I'm going to help you manifest that because that would be incredible.
Yes.
As you mentioned, last year, you were the first woman ever to receive the EDMA Icon of the Year award. How does that feel to have that accomplishment under your belt?
It's such an honor because I'm the first woman to get that. And I just feel that, when I think back, I really was the voice of EDM at the time. Like we started that movement, and the timing of everything, you've got my unique sound with the two most iconic DJs in the world back to back. And it really was the beginning of a chapter in music history, in the EDM space and dance space. I mean, but it was just crazy. And I think from there, like we've obviously moved from that, but I think that I was proud because I thought I'm not only a woman, because it is a boys club in this genre, and I always say, it's a boys club, but it's a woman's world. Um,
I love that.
but at the end of the day, I'm not a boy. Obviously, I'm not a DJ either. I mean, really an artist. I write, I sing. That's my thing. And so it's very hard in the dance space nowadays because literally, like everyone's a DJ. I mean, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is DJing, and that's how you open up your bookings and stuff. But I just thought if I could come from the other side of the world, from a remote part of Australia, from immigrant parents, I was never exposed to the business, and I come to this country and no one knows me, and I'm a nobody all over again, and I start all over again, and I can make this shit happen. Like, when I mentor people, whatever, I'm just like, you can make it, you can do it, like seriously. So it's just opened the door, I think, for a lot of other, like obviously women, but other artists, because the dance genre is not just about DJs. I mean, DJs need our records to play them, right? So we make them,
Yes. That is such a good point too. I mean, I'm a DJ myself, so I feel you, girl. There's a lot of us out there, and 100% artists are needed in this space just as much. We would have no songs to play without you. So that's so cool that you have that accomplishment. And with that being said, you mentioned it's a boys club, and that is certainly true. So I'm wondering, do you have any advice that you would give to women who are also trying to persevere in a male-dominated industry?
Yeah, I would just say that, okay, remember to just, first of all, be authentically yourself, regardless, right? Boys, girls, regardless. Be authentically yourself. And, yesterday was my birthday, right? And I actually share the same birthday. This is so crazy. Nervo, the two twin sisters from Australia,
Yes.
messaged me yesterday, said happy birthday. And they're like, this is wild. Like, we have the same birthday. And I was like, oh my God. Like, because we're all Australian, and they're two women like really just running the game. I mean, they're DJs, but they're also writers and artists. And so, and I wish a part of me, I wanted to be a DJ, because I think that if I was, I definitely would have opened up a lot more stuff for myself. And I remember when I was on tour with Tiesto a few years ago, I remember he used to always say, if you DJ, you'll kill the game. And he was right. I probably would have, but I just authentically, it's not me. And I think that that's the most important thing. First of all, you got to be true to yourself and what, you want to do. Secondly, rejections are going to happen, right? Now, I always take the philosophy that rejections are just redirections. Yeah, I know they suck at the time, But what I wanted to tell people, a lot of other female artists out there, you're going to face a lot of it, and don't think that you're the only one, because even really successful people and DJs and what are still getting them. It's just that it's all relative, right? They're getting them at different levels, and no one talks about rejections. By the way, it's like not the cool thing to talk about. The reality is that it happens, you know. And I would just say, don't be afraid to be a woman. You know, you don't have to play it down. You don't have to play it up either. Like, just be yourself. When I'm on stage, I'm an artist. I dress the way I feel. But when I'm in my personal time, having, you know, birthday brunch with my friends that are not in the business, or my partner, I'm just me, like whatever that is, the earthy girl from Australia. So I just think that's the most important thing. Don't be afraid to be a girl and a woman. And, you know, you don't have to but you don't have to do this either. Like, literally just be, it goes back to, again, being authentically you. That's really the key to this, I think.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that's great advice. And that's such a good point about rejection. I think of social media and how people always post the highlight reel of their life. We're all guilty of it because we're, like you said, not going to post the rejection. So it's always important to remember that's happening, even if you don't see it, for sure. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the new LP, though, VASSY Supreme. It is such a positive, optimistic, fun, summery vibe. So talk to me about what inspired this project for you.
I wanted to get in the studio and make cool, quirky records that reminded me of a lot of my indie pop days from the beginning of my career. Because I obviously wasn't a dance artist from the beginning, although my songs had a lot of electronic elements in them. But it wasn't like I was the queen of EDM, or, you know, the title that I received after, like, doing my big, you know, hit records and stuff. But the cool thing is that I'm an artist that loves to interlace a lot of genres, and I don't like to be boxed. But the thing is when you become successful in a particular space, there's so many things about that people don't understand. It's not even that you get put in a box. It's just that you have a system, and you have a platform that you figured out, and that takes years of mastering. You know, cultivating relationships in that area, at radio, with DSPs, curators, like just everything. So now to shift to go to like a different genre, I think you can do it, but you have to really have such a machine in place. Like a Beyonce can go from, I mean, she's just put a country record out. Someone like her, she can do any genre because she's got access to all the people in those markets.
Mhm.
But I think that for me, I wanted to do this album because I was like, I've been used to making dance records for a few years, and I love making dance records, don't get me wrong. But with them as well, and because of the kind of artist I am, you know, I'm not just a trance DJ or this, like, I'm a pop leading dance artist. I have to make certain records that are palatable for radio, that are this and that. And with that comes a little bit of pressure. So I feel like I just want to let go of it all and get in the studio and just make some cool shit, you know, and be like, I work with this favorite producer of mine who used to be One Republic back in the day, Tim Myers. Love him. And he's so talented. He's like a prince. Like, he can pick up a guitar, he could play bass, he could play piano, like anything. So I just said to him, man, let's just do whatever. Like, fuck this. Like, I don't want to, like, let's just have some fun. So that's what it was. So, you know, it was just like this other quirky side of me. And I don't care what happens with this project. I'm just so freaking happy I did it, because for me, it was a little bit like, oh, I got to have fun in the studio, you know, not worried that, oh my God, is this song going to go number one on radio, or like, and that's it. Just because at the end of the day, you're an artist, and that's really, you know, you make art. So I really had fun with this one. So I go from like reggaeton to, you know, Afro beats to quirky, you know, Latin stuff to like anthemic, you know, light the candle kind of music. So it was really fun.
I can tell you had fun in the studio making that, VASSY, because I have fun listening to it. It kind of reminds me of the soundtrack that plays in my head when I'm having a really good day. Maybe that's because I'm a quirky girl, but it felt like my vibe 100%. So I love, love, love the new album. And in addition to that, out of all your music, you've had a lot of songs and some really cool things. You had a Frozen hit, something in Grey's Anatomy, all sorts of different things. So I'm curious, out of all the pop culture moments your songs have been featured in, is there one that's been the most special to you or the coolest for you?
I would say Frozen was pretty awesome because, That's a Disney movie. It won an Oscar and it was so huge across the globe that I literally would hear from the most random messages and texts on all platforms, including people I haven't heard from in like a decade that, like years, that literally texted me. And I'm like, how do you even have my number? To be like, oh my God, like the weirdest shit. Like, I'm in Scotland right now and your song just, oh, I'm in South Africa, like, I'm in Brazil, I'm in Australia. I just, oh my God, your song's on the cinema right now. Like, and it was funny because I realized in that moment how many adults actually go to Disney films.
100%.
Because I was like, oh, wait, is this a kid's thing? And I remember I hadn't seen it. And I was like, yeah, right, blame it on the niece, the nephew, the kids. But then I watched it and I was like, no, I can see why people get into this stuff. It's actually really cool. Like,
Yeah.
so that was my favorite moment in terms of, I've had so many placements for campaigns. Oh, and my other favorite one would be the Hilton TV campaign. So, funny story about that. The Hilton TV campaigns, when I first moved to America, my song was licensed for that campaign, and it was amazing. It was the campaign for the theme song for the Hilton brand for about 2 to 3 years. And so I literally, we got paid. It was nice, but I got to stay at Hilton's for free. And I remember when I was first moved to LA, they put me up at the Beverly Hilton for free. And it was just awesome. And then I one day meet Paris Hilton. I met her at Paramount Studios. And I remember saying to her, I go, you don't know me, but da da da. And then when she's like, oh, and Paris is so sweet. And she talks like she talks. She's just like, oh, you're VASSY. And she's like, oh, that's hot. Like she actually, and I remember going, oh my God. I was like, you really do talk like you sound like on TV. As she laughed and she thought that was cute. And I said, oh my God, I'm sorry. She goes, no, that's hot. I love that you said that. But then quick story about her. She told me, she's like, I know your song. That's really cool. And then we connected and we exchanged numbers. And I remember that year or something, I went to some Grammy party at a famous person's house, and she rolls up in her SUV, and I had parked my Pontiac Fiero, like, I was broke or whatever. Fucking, and she puts down the tinted windows and she's like, VASSY, she's like, you look hot. She's like, get in. And I get in the SUV and drive up to the front. We get out in front of this mansion place. And of course, the guy who would have treated me like nobody all of a sudden thought I was Paris's friend. So I got like the VIP treatment. But that was cool too. And it was nice when I met her. She knew about me, but we'd never met. And yeah, she was really sweet. So that was a fun one as well.
That is such a cool story. And the fact that you got a That's Hot from Paris Hilton herself, what an accomplishment, VASSY. I love that. That's so cool. Now that the LP is out, what's next for you? What's coming up this year that you're excited for?
Yeah, well, so at the moment, my song Crazy is number 3 across the country at dance radio. So we're really excited about that one. I mean, I'm hoping we get number 1 with it. There's no guarantees, but I literally in the next week or 2 will know. So fingers crossed. And then when that happens, of course, once your song, goes number 1, or then it's on to the next. So we already have a new single that's then going to radio called Off Switch, which I'm really excited about. And I just finished now mastering my next single that's produced by Punctual, these UK producers who are amazing. And we're scheduled that for beginning of May. So I already have my next few releases scheduled. And then in the meantime, I'm going to Miami to do the EDMA Awards and perform there. And then I'm doing a couple shows with Live Nation back on the West Coast. And then I fly to Australia because I'm going to Australia to perform for a big festival up north. It's a really big indie festival. But I'm actually going to be awarded a very special award from APRA, which is like the Songwriters Association of for the country. And they're giving me a very special award to honor me for obviously BAD having the Billions thing and a couple other things that are happening in Australia. So I'm really looking forward to that. And connecting with the local scene there, and being around my peers, people that champion me like from day one. So that'll be a really special moment for me in my career as well.
Sure. Well, congratulations. That is going to be so cool. Such a good time. And I hope we get you over on the East Coast soon, too. I was so bummed to see I missed you with Aqua when you were in Boston.
Oh, no. Is that where you're based? Oh, my God. I would have hooked you up.
So Too little, too late. So we're actually in Maine, but we're about an hour and a half from Boston. So just to skip and a jump, how was that tour?
Oh my God. So first of all, like they're so blessed, the Scandinavians. Like they're just genetically blessed, they're talented. But they've got such a cool fan base. So they invited me to go on tour with them on a national tour across the US. So we did 22 cities, but their fans are so eclectic. There's such a wide range. You got the old school fans, you got the new school fans because Nicki Minaj made the song popular through the Barbie movie. And so you have this, and you've got everything, your straights, your gays, I mean, just like the perfect crowd. Do you know what I mean? Like if you want to perform for a crowd, you want to appeal to everyone, a 50-year-old to a 5-year-old. Like, so it was cool and everyone embraced me. It was, I think a lot of people at first were like, oh, VASSY. And then when I started singing certain songs, they were like, oh, I know that song. And then they were joining the dots. And I'm like, oh my God. So I've developed like a lot of fans from that, which has been really, really special. So I really enjoyed that tour. It was fun. And also to perform at all those beautiful Live Nation venues, the Paramounts, the Fillmores, the House of Blues. Like it's so special.
I can only imagine how much fun it must have been being on the road with those guys, and can't wait to have you back in New England. But last, certainly not least, VASSY, here in the state of Maine, our state motto is the way life should be. So I'm wondering, according to you, what is the way life should be?
I think the way life should be is stick to your plan A, don't have plan B. Once you've got a plan B, you're compromising it. So just whatever that is, just stick to your plan A. And also remember that life is short. So sometimes when things don't go your way, just seriously remember the person that didn't whatever, approve you, or like one day he's or she's gonna die, you're gonna die. I'm gonna be gone, you're gonna be gone one day. Like we're literally all gonna be gone. And having lost a parent as a young, I was young, I just know that it can just go like that. So I feel like it is good to have, you want to succeed, but make time for just the normal shit, doing things with friends, going for a hike, whatever, watching Netflix. Like that stuff's really important too. It doesn't always have to be about ambition and goals. And I think in America, what I love about Americans is people are very driven.
Yeah.
And in Australia, we're like kind of like the opposite. We're very laid back. But I love that about America. But sometimes I feel like it's so good to have like that balance.
Yeah.
And so that's all I would say. Like, just try to remember that,
100%. I think you nailed that on the head. We are maybe a bit too driven. We don't value or make time for the things that really matter as much as work or the end goal. And I think it's really important to remember life is short. You never know when it's going to be up for any of us. So might as well enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Well, you certainly help us do that with the new LP and all the other things you do, VASSY. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. And I can't wait to hear what's next from you.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed this. It was fun. You're so spunky.
Oh, thank you. I do my best.